Let's mute everybody. Okay, we are holding by Mimai, 2 lines from the bottom of Daf Samach Gimel Amud Beis. In other words, we wanted to say that Rabbi Yishmael in our Mishnah, who holds that we do only what's necessary, and therefore on Shabbos we only harvest 3 sa and not 5 sa, holds like Rabbi Yishmael ben Aisha, Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika, who says that we only flay the Korban Pesach when it falls out on Shabbos up till the breast, because that's all we need to do to take out the sacrificial portions. That they hold the same thing, that we don't do anything unnecessary on Shabbos. The Gemara says, Mimai, who says? Dilma adkan loikam Rabbi Yishmael hacha, that he says that you do 3 instead of 5. The leka bizayin kachim. There's no bizayin to leave it half flayed and half not flayed. Aval hasam, but to only flay it to the breast, the ika bizayin kachim, it's a little bizayin to the kachim to leave it half done, half not done. That you're allowed to do it. Inami adkan like come Rabbi Yishmael ben Aisha, Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika hasam this avid late tzarich gevaya. All you need to do is until the breast, and you could take out the emurim, and the rest you could do in the night. You don't have to desecrate the Shabbos anymore. But over here, since we said the better way is to harvest 5 sa, because then you could get fine grains even more. You don't fully fulfill the needs of the Eimer, Shabbos, and there is a reason to desecrate the Shabbos. Eimer K'Rabbanan Tzriulei. Ella, if you want to say who holds like Rabbi Yishmael, Ella Amar Rabba, Rabbi Yishmael v'Rab Chanina Skana Kahanim Amru Davar Echad. Rabbi Yishmael and Rab Chanina, the deputy of the Kahanim, say the same thing. The Tanan, Rab Chanina Skana Kahanim Aimer b'Shabbos Niktar b'Yochid. On Shabbos we harvest with 1 person, b'Magal Echad with 1 sickle, b'Kupa Achas, and with 1 basket. Ubechel, during the week, remember we said Lahitzi Miliban Shel Tzdokim, who say that Menachos HaShabbos means on Sunday. We do it with a lot of fanfare. Ubechel b'Shleisha, we use 3 people. B'Shalosh Kupas with 3 baskets, and B'Shalosh Magalas. V'Chachamim Aimer Echad Shabbos B'Echad Chol. Even on Shabbos, we do B'Shalosh Kupas with 3 baskets, and B'Shalosh Magalas. So we see that Rab Chanina Skana Kahanim holds that we avoid on Shabbos anything unnecessary. Like Amar Chanina Skana Kahanim Hasam came in the Efsha, since you could do it with 1 person, like Tarchinan. Hachanami here also came in the Efsha, like Rabbi Yishmael, since it's possible to do 3 sa, like Tarchinan, to harvest 5 sa. So again, the Gemara does not like the comparison, the analogy. We're delighted that Gedalia is joining us, braving the weather and the gridlock. 14 lines from the top of Samach Daled Amud Aleph. For Marshall, that's the Daf of Soda.
Mizmor Lesoda.
Now, I know what you have in mind when you say that, Tefillah. Says the Gemara,
It ain't Pepsi.
Mimai. Dilma adkan lo kam Rabbi Shmuel hacha ela deleka p'sumenisa, because there's no reason to do it with 5 sa, and therefore do less chilul Shabbos. But over here, where there's the idea to let people know, not like the tzdokim, aval hasam dika p'sumei milsa, to broadcast that it's not on a Sunday, but it's the day after the first day of Yom Tov, a mekrabanan tzvirlei, that we do it even on Shabbos. That's one of the more famous lahaitzim milubin shel tzedaikim is our cholent, because the tzedaikim say lo yisavar eish b'chol moshe sechem b'yom Shabbos means you shouldn't have a fire burning in your house. So we put something on the fire the whole night. Lahaitzim milubin shel tzedaikim, says the Gemara inami ad kan lo kamer Rab Chanina's kanim hasam. The ibchad ibishleisha, whether it's with 1 or with 3, we accomplish what we need for the Eimer. Tzarech gevaya mesavet kilchasa. Aval hachad, we said that when you do 5, you get even more finer grain. Aval hachad lo yisavet kilchasa tzarech gevaya eimer k'Rabbanan tzirelei. Holds like the Rabbana. Elo Amar Rav Ashi, a third attempt at a comparison. Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Yosi Amru Davar Echad. Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Yosi say the same thing. And now we're starting the first wide line on Daf Samach Dal Amud Aleph. It's good to have Mark back with us. Not yet. The Tanan. Shalom Dov ben Pesha should have refuah shalema. Nan. Now we know that people go for Kiddush HaChodesh to Bezdin to testify that they saw the new moon, and they could go even on Shabbos, even if they have to go outside of the Tchum. And the problem is, what about if it's a clear new moon that for sure somebody nearby would also see it? Do you desecrate the Shabbos? The Tanan, bein shenira ba'alul, bein shen lo nira ba'alul. The Chacham say whether the new moon is clear in the sky or whether it's not, mechal l'alav Shabbos. You go even though for sure somebody nearby also saw it. Rabbi Yosi says no. Im nira ba'alul, if it can be seen clearly, so you see, Rabbi Yosi says we don't do something that's unnecessary. That's like Rabbi Shmuel, who says if you do 3, don't do 5. Since somebody closer will see it, we don't trouble ourselves to go. Since you could do 3, you don't do 5. So again, the Gemara says it's not a good comparison. It's not necessarily true that they hold of each other's opinion. Mimai. Dilma atkan lo kam Rabbi Shmuel hacha ela deleka nimtzas atamach shilin lo asid lavai. You see, over there by the moon, we're afraid that if we tell people that it's clear in the sky, don't go, the next time when it's not so clear, they might also not go. They'll also say, somebody close by will see it. In the case of the Beis HaMikdash, where it's done by the Kahanim and Zrizanein, we're not worried that such a thing would happen. Aval Hasam, the case of the moon, the nimtzas at the machshil lost lava, emek rabbanan tzvirlei. Rabbi Shmuel might hold like the rabbanan that they go even when it's clear in the sky. Inami, and this is the same svah. Ad kan like come Rabbi Yosi Asam el deleket tzarech gevaya. There's no need if it's clear in the sky. V'lo nitna Shabbos litchais. We said out of 5 you could get even finer than out of 3. So again, not a good comparison. Now the Gemara talks about, this is something, we need a real character for this. I'm going to have to really think about this. Okay. Whenever I think about it, I look at the person who moves away from the screen. I know I have the right guy. It has to be Marshall. It's Musaf on Yom Tov, and you're supposed to bring 1 chattas. And Marshall shechts 2 chattases. Now, he did a b'shoigeg. It's after all Marshall. He has to bring a chattas for the second chattas. Because the second chattas he slaughtered unnecessary. It was Mechal Shabbos b'shoigeg. This halacha is a davar poshet. But the Gemara is going to make different scenarios as only, Dre cups can, Marshall. Emma, shachat shnei chatois shel tzibur. If he shechted 2 chatois, ve'en tzarech el achas, it was only supposed to be 1. Amar Rabba v'yisei Rab Ami chayev al hashniya. He's chayev for the second one, upoter al rishon, and he's exempt for the first one because, of course, the first one was necessary. Now that's duh. But says the Gemara, but that's true even if after he slaughters the second one, the blood of the first one spilled. They ended up needing the second one. He's still chayev achatas, because at the time that he slaughtered the second one, it wasn't necessary. And that's the chiddush. What a chiddush. Va'afilu niskaper loy b'shniya. And this is true even if the kapara came about through the second one. So at the end, the second one wasn't unnecessary. And not only that, va'afilu nimtzas rishayna krusha. Even if we find that the first one was emaciated, so the second one was better. But since you fulfill the mitzvah, if you did it with the emaciated one, the second one was unnecessary. Did you say something? Now, it says the Gemara, Mi Amar Rabba Hachi, V'Amar Rabba Hachi L'fan of Shtei Chattas. If Marshall had 2 chattas, Achas Shmeina v'Achas Krusha, one a fat one, and one an emaciated one, Shachat Shmeina v'Achas Shachat Krusha Chai. If he shechted the fat one, fulfilling the mitzvah, and then shechted the emaciated one, he's chayiv. Krusha, but if he shechted the emaciated one, v'achkach shmeina potter. Not only that, it's not only if he did it, but Rabbah holds that you don't fulfill the mitzvah with the emaciated one. V'loy oid ela she'amrim loy havei shmeina l'chatchila v'shachai, because you don't fulfill the mitzvah. So how could you say that he says that Marshall would be chayiv if the first one was kechusha? He holds that even l'chatchila, if you shech the kechusha, you have to shech the shmeina. So Gemara says, Iba yisema sami kechusha mikmaisa, erase the case of kechusha. Marshall wouldn't be chayiv in such a case. The Iba yisema, that wasn't Rabbah, Hayi Rabbi Ami Yamra, who argues on Rabbah. Now, here's an interesting, here's a what if. This is a really interesting day. When things happen with Marshall, it's very fascinating. He shechs the first one, then he shechs the second one. Then, upon examination in the Beis HaMitbachayim, they find the first one its innards were emaciated. But at the time that Marshall shechted the second one, he didn't know that. So his thought was to do an Aveira. You know, Marshall. He's wearing red for a reason, right? Red alert. Right, so let's see the Gemara inside. Marshall, how did you know? You must have learned the Gemara beforehand. Says the Gemara, Amalei Ravina l'Ravashi nimtza sarishayna kusha b'bnei ma'ayin ma'u. If we find the first one was emaciated in the innards, so really, according to Rabbah, you would have to bring another one. But at the time that Marshall shechted it, he didn't know that it was emaciated, so he did it as an Aveira. Do we say Basamach Shafta Yazlina? Vigavali Surah Kabachav. Not really the Surah, because he didn't know it was a Shageg, but he meant to do something which was an Isser to bring a second one. Or do we go according to the action? And at the end, the action was not forbidden, because we needed this second Chatas. So Amalei, that sounds like a discussion between Rabbah and Rava. Amalei lav hainu de Rabbah v'Rava. The Itmar. Here's an interesting case. Shama shetova tinik b'yam. Marshall heard that a child was drowning in the sea. Marshall fishes even on Shabbos. He's a fishy guy. Uparas mitzuda lahalois dogim. He spread a net to catch fish, which is, of course, one of the 39 malachas of hunting. And he would be chayiv achatas. V'hela dogim. And he caught fish, chayiv. Lahalois dogim, if he did it to catch fish, v'hela dogim v'tinak, and he caught fish and he saved the child. So Rava Amar chayiv because he didn't have a mind to save the child, and we go basamach shavtai. V'Rabba Amar pater because he saved the child. But this is not like our case, because over here at least Marshall knew that the child was drowning. So v'adkan loy kamar, v'adkan Rabba loy kapater, elikevan deshama, since he heard that there was a child drowning, amrino nami daite atinik, that he also had a mind on the child. Avoloy shama, but like in our case where he didn't know that the innards were deficient of the first one, loy. But there's another version that this is an exact comparison. Amalei hainu pluktaya de Rabba v'Rava. If Marshall heard that there was a child drowning at sea, but he spread the net to catch fish, he didn't give a fig for the child. V'hela dogim chayiv. If he did it lahalois dogim v'hela tinik v'dogim, Rabba amar pata, because Rabba says that we go basar his action, and his action here was needed. V'Rava amar chayiv, because we go basar his machshava. Rabba amar pata zil basar ma'asav, and he saved the child. V'Rava amar chayiv zil basar machshavta, and he did it only for the fish. Now, we want to welcome in Dr. Guy Marshall. We'll welcome him in. Yisrael Fisher, Mel Zachter, Reuven Pollack, Yaakov Warman, Saba, Baruch Ian, Shalom Fogel, Nachman Chapler, Irving Fishbaum, Yitzi Muller, Yitzi Fuchs, Mark Frankel, Menachem Umansky, Mo Kushner, Dr. Black, Chaim Lerner, Moshe Lehman, Danny Vogel, Stephen Holtzman, Abraham Rezepkwitz, Shimon Klein, Abe Arbach, Yehuda Solomon, Gabriel Epstein, Naftali Jablin, Shelley Zeitlin, Robert Kranz, Richard Ilya Shutman, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, David Helfgott. Here in the shul we have Shlomo Borenstein, and Iran, and Rebellia, Michal Avram, Chaim, Dalia Engel, Berish, Ruvain. Shannon is away. He's helping a chola. So now Amar Rabba, Chayla she'amdu legregoris achas. A sick person that they evaluated, it's pikuach nefesh, that he needs one dried fig. V'rotzu asara b'nei adam ve'hiviu asara gregoris. 10 people ran at the same time. You're not supposed to wait. Not supposed to ask questions. And each one brought him a fig. B'bas achas peturin. But not only even at one time, even though they came one after another, he already had his fig already, he was already better. But when they went, they were doing it to help him save his life. And afilu kadam v'hivri b'rishon, even though he's already better from the first fig. But when they were doing it for a dying man, a sick man, so it's permitted. But now the Gemara really discusses a very fascinating conundrum. By Rava. Now, I have to tell you that this incident did happen. It did happen to Shalom Vogel. He had a case like this. Not sure if it was in Boynton or if it was in Borough Park or Lakewood. What happened? There was somebody, they said that he needed 2 figs. Now listen to the dilemma that Shalom finds himself in. There's 2 figs, one on one stem and one on another stem. There's 3 figs on one stem. Which one should he pull? Should he pull the 2 stems getting 2 because that's all that's needed? Or he should pull the one stem that has 3 because he's only doing 1 malacha of kaitzer? The other one, he's doing 2 malachas of kaitzer. Shtayim ma'asinan, does he bring 2, the chazile, because that's what the chayla needs? Or yidil mishalosh ma'asinan to come a ma'at k'tzira, because he's only doing 1 ma'isa of pulling out. So the Gemara says, and Shalom says, that's a shayla? Pshita shalosh ma'asinan. Of course you bring the 3. Why should you do 2 acts of k'tzira if you could solve it with 1 act? So, that can like come Rabbi Shmuel Hassam. Where does Rabbi Shmuel say that we do 3 instead of 5? When you do only 3 sak, you're doing less harvesting. When you do 2, you're doing more harvesting. Then and of course, you only do 3. You do the 3 and not the 2. We want to say that Shalom Fogel is sponsoring the Shil Ilon Nishmas Yaakov Zeb ben Yehuda Ayer, Rivka bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam bas God, Yosef ben Tzim ben Yaakov Zeb, L'Refu Shlema for Moshe Aryeh ben Miriam, and for a great shidduch for Chai Tzivya bas Shoshana Gittel, a great shidduch for Bati bas Sarah, L'Rabaruchian, L'Ilon Nishmas Yaakov Chaim ben Abba, Esther bas Yonah, Avram ben Shmuel HaKoyin, L'Refu Shlema for Liba bas Anya, L'Refu Shlema for Yosef Shmuel ben Miriam, and for healthy mommy, healthy baby, especially for Ariel and Yor Bas Elza Rivka. Yeah. Chaim Rafal ben Sarah, Shmei ben Esther Fradel, Chai ben Ruchama, Ruchama Sarah Bas Miriam. They should have a refuah shalema b'sech shachar Yisrael. Now, new Mishnah. I should mention already now that we are still looking for a sponsor for this week's Haggadah year. I don't understand why. Usually for Haggadah year, people run to sponsor the exclusive Haggadah year. 718-916-3100. That's 718-916-3100. rmmwsi@aol.com. Mitzvah sa'aymer lahavi min hakarev. The mitzvah of the Aimer is to bring it from the closest barley near the Beis Hamikdash. Loi biker hakar Yerushalayim, if that which is near Yerushalayim did not ripen, mevian oisai mikol makam. They could bring it from any place. Maisa, there was an incident when Yerushalayim was under siege, and much of the crop was ravaged. Sheba Aimer migagos tzrifin, that the Aimer came from distant gagos tzrifin. U'shte'alechem on Shavuos came mebikas ein tzayker. So the question is, why do we bring it from the closest in Yerushalayim? My time. Ibayis ema mishum Carmel. The pasuk says Carmel. Carmel is rach umol. It should be soft and it should be easy to crush. And if you're going to bring it from far, the wind is going to dry it out. V'ibayis ema mishum de'ein mavirin ala mitzvahs. As a matter of fact, this is very interesting. It's brought down that you should let the second matzah of the 3 matzahs on Pesach, you should have it stick out, so that when you break the matzah, you shouldn't be mavir over the first matzah. Very interesting thing. It's brought down amongst the minhagim. You should have the second matzah stick out a little bit more, because otherwise, when you choose to break the middle matzah, you're passing by the first matzah. So in order that that shouldn't be, you should have it sticking out a little bit. Ma'isa sheba oimer megagos tzrifin. So this is during the Tellerul time, after Queen Salome, Alexandra Salome, reigned. She was from the Hashmonaim dynasty. So she had 2 children, Hyrcanus and Aristobulus. Hyrcanus was the Bechar. It's a whole story, but the bottom line is that the 2 warred for the throne. So Tana Rabbanan Kishitzaru Malchus Beis Hashmonai Zalzeh, when the kings of the Hashmonaim dynasty warred with one another, Hyrcanus was outside, the Aristobulus b'befnim, and Aristobulus was in the inside. Now, they had no more lambs in Yerushalayim. So every day, dinarin bekupa, they lowered coins in a basket, and they sent up lambs for the Talmud. There was a zaken inside, that knew the Morse code, the Greek Morse code. He sent them a message in secret, as long as they are able to do the avodah, they'll never be delivered in your hands.
He was on the inside?
He was on the inside. L'machar, shilshulu lahem dinarim bekupa, they sent the money, vehelu lahem chazir. Instead of sending a lamb, they sent the chazir. When it was lifted to half the height of the wall, the chaza stuck its claws in the wall. And there was an earthquake in Eretz Yisrael, 400 paras to 1,200 mil. When they had such a devastating repercussions, they said, Oru sheyigadol chazir, cursed is one who raises a swine, V'arashi Yilma b'nai Chachma Yavanis. And cursed is one who teaches his son Chachmas Yavanis. V'al oisa shoshaninu, and it was at that time that they also destroyed the crops, so they shouldn't be able to bring the Eimer and the Shtei Alechem. V'al oisa shoshaninu ma'isa sheba Eimer megagoy tzrifin. It came from the distant gagoy tzrifin. U'Shtei Alechem mebikas ein tzayich. Now, how did they discover that the Eimer was available in gagoy tzrifin? Kimata Eimer, when it came the time for the Eimer, lo have a yodei mehecha. They didn't know where to bring it from. Lo have a yodei mehecha aisi Eimer, where they should bring the Eimer from. Achrizu, they made a proclamation. Does anybody know where there's ripe barley? Also, charsha, a mute person, a deaf mute, came, and he had to do sign language. Oisef choda yoda igra. He put one hand on the roof, v'choda yodei atzrifa, and one hand on a hut. Amalu Mordechai. So Mordechai, this is Psachia, who was in the base of Mikdash in charge of the Kenan. So Rashi learns that this is Mordechai of Megillas Esther. Taisus has a problem with it. How could he have lived so long? It's over 200 years after the building of the base of Mikdash. But Lamaisa is, it's brought down. There are those that say that Mordechai lived to 400 years old. So, Amalu Mordechai, mi keduchta deshma gagois trifin. He's hinting to you, is there a place gagois trifin or trifin gagois? But kuvashkachu, they found a place called gagois trifin, and they found it. Kiboy la'asiyah shtei alechem, la'havi yodei mehecha. They didn't know where to bring it from. Asuyah. Again, achrizu, they made a proclamation. Asahu gavra charsha, and here again he did oisiv yodei einei, put one his hand on his eye, v'choda yoda asichra, and one hand on the socket of the door. Amalu Mordechai mi keduchta de shmei ayin seicher. Is a place that's ayin seicher, eye and socket, oy seicher ayin. Batku v'ashkechu, and they investigated, and they found it.
Rabbi?
Yes.
Going back to the story with the Chachmas Yavanis. So I understand why you want to say a person is someone who raises pigs, because what are pigs good for? They don't work, and they're just. But a Chachmas Yavanis, if there is some wisdom to it, why curse just because it came out of this story?
The truth of the matter is that we never want children to learn the language of the guy, because it causes them to assimilate easier. So sometimes, for example, in Europe, there were those that refused to allow their children to learn Russian. Even today, in our day and age, many families. Rav Miller left in his tzava. This is known that Rav Miller left an ethical will, and in his ethical will, he said he wanted his children to speak in the house Yiddish. That should be the language. And if you think about it, if your children are only speaking Yiddish, they're not so tempted to read Harry Potter. I'm not against Harry Potter. I'm just saying there are people that are very against Harry Potter. Rav Miller wanted to keep out as much as possible the foreign influence. Now that's if nothing happened through it. If some tragedy happened through it, it was a reason for them right away to stamp it out. See, it becomes no good. In general, though, we should know, today more than ever, we need to be careful about the influence from outside. The influence from outside today is so frightening. It's just so frightening. anybody that allows a child, a teenager, a healthy, curious teenager, to have access to unfiltered internet is just completely clueless. Completely clueless. Again, we remind you about dailygiving.org, and also to sponsor the Haggadah Share 718-916-3100. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful evening.